nice and heavy.
So much fruit back here.
Brussels sprouts are kind of like little mini cabbages, right? Good morning. Welcome back to Sage and Stone Homestead. My name is Heather, and I have not, I literally just rolled out of bed because my husband came in right before work. I said, Heather, there's ice on the cars. It was supposed to be 40 last night. I don't see frost on the ground, but my greenhouse is wide open. Just kidding, there is some frost for sure. Good morning. Good morning. I swear the dogs live for frosty mornings. Come on. Yeah, there's frost out here. Ugh. It's gonna be a little bit hard for me to tell until later, but it looks like maybe even the minimal overhead cover of the greenhouse could have retained enough heat where the frost didn't really creep in here. And I'm grateful to see that the ground really doesn't have that much frost either, and it's really, really patchy, but as far as I knew, it wasn't supposed to do this. So we are still trying to mature. Let's see here. We're still trying to mature a lot of these tromboncino squash. They're coming along beautifully. And I have noticed that some of them, just with the weight of the plant, they're cracking at the stems. But it looks like there probably is some nutrition still getting to the plant through the remaining stem. And that one is green. It's obviously not ready for winter storage. The last series of frosts that we had, I didn't think they damaged anything in here, but you can see the top of the tromboncino really does have some frost damage. And so these plants are barely hanging on as it is. And so, I don't know, it is just a matter of time. In the last series of frosts, our basil here did get some frost damage on the top as well. And I had the greenhouse shut for 3 straight days with nice sunny days during those last 3 frosts, and it didn't really seem to help because unheated greenhouses, like I said before, they can only do so much. Now we have the elephant in the room to discuss over here because there's supposed to be plants on this side of the greenhouse. Some critter, and I have assumed that it's a mouse, is coming through and cutting off the tops of my seedlings. And they're not eating it. They're just cutting it off and walking away, which is really, really frustrating because it's like they're not doing it for any reason. They're not eating it, and it doesn't seem like they're using it for nesting material. It doesn't seem like it was in their way, so they had to move it. They're just cutting off the tops of my seedlings, which means that these are no good for us either. There's this calendula plant, 1 cabbage, and I think there's 2 cauliflower way at the end down there, but the thing, whatever it is, has moved a little bit over into this row here, which is the 3rd row in. So far, it looks like these 2 rows over here are untouched. These seedlings are a little bit older, the stems are a little bit thicker, and like I said, I don't know why that thing, the mouse, I don't know, maybe it's a skunk or something. I don't know why it's going after those seedlings. So who knows? Hopefully it does stay away from these because these are a lot further along. It's beautiful, beautiful plants. Good morning, darling. I see you've got a nice breakfast. I was in here yesterday and it looks like I forgot to turn on my noisemakers in here. They're annoying to me, so I usually shut them off when I'm in here, but that doesn't help them work any better when they're not on. I mean, I'm not convinced that they're working at all, but they definitely won't work if they're off. Hey guys, it's a couple days later. The first part of this video was shot on Thursday, and now it is Sunday, and we are one cabbage down in the greenhouse. Oh. A few people have asked me lately, Heather, why don't you have a barn cat or a farm cat for your mouse situation? And the reason is pretty simple for me. Basically, I do have some cats. They're actually indoor cats. They're old. They're 12 and 13 years old, and they really don't have any interest in coming outside and mousing for me. But even if they did, I feel like they would be more destructive than they would really be beneficial, because I don't know about your cats, but my cats, they're not nice to my indoor plants. They like to munch on the leaves. Actually, these exact seedlings, I had to move outside earlier than I really wanted to because my cat was using my seedlings as a bed and as a snack. I had a lot fewer seedlings to put out into the garden because of my cat. So I don't feel like the cat would really be a help with the mouse situation necessarily. I think they would probably contribute to some garden destruction, not only eating plants, but also using my garden as a litter box, and that just doesn't sit right with me. I know you can use carnivore manure in your garden, but I think it has to be composted down for something like a year before it's considered safe to put on your plants that you're gonna eat. Plus, you can probably hear there's a lot of cows mooing in the background. Our neighbors keep Angus cattle in a really big barn next to us, and they do put out poison for rodents. I know that any outdoor cats of ours would probably be hanging out in that barn, probably be consuming dead mice that died from poison, and then I have a dead cat. I just don't think it would be safe for a cat, even if they didn't mess in or eat my garden. One of my tromboncinos was hanging on by a thread a couple days ago, so I did go ahead and cut it off, and it's nice and heavy and gorgeous. I've had this thing sitting on the table in the greenhouse for a little while, trying to cure up the skin a little bit more. Arguably, it could have stayed on the vine a little bit longer. Problem being, it basically had snapped off of the vine all by itself. So I'm doing what I can to help it last as long as possible inside for winter storage. But this one is one that I will probably end up cooking and eating relatively soon. I actually thought about chopping this up and canning it and using it like canned pumpkin. If I think about the size of a quart jar, just by looking at the neck, I think we'd probably get close to a full canner load out of this one squash. That's a lot of value. My livestock guardian dog Mars basically never barks, especially during the day. He barks at night because there's things out at night. Basically, there's not stuff out usually during the day, but he's on something right now. I'm gonna go get Levi. It might be a turtle. I kind of think I see an open mouth, like a snapping turtle.
So much poop back here.
That's where Buster goes, I guess. It's a turtle?
Yeah. Probably laying eggs.
Oh, Mars.
Big goat.
What is it? False alarm. So back to the garden. Our broccoli and our cauliflower row are both looking really, really awesome. I think they're of the age and of a stage where their stems and the stalks of the plant are just too woody and too sturdy to really be of interest to any kind of rodent. I think they probably prefer some of the more tender leaves, and so I believe that these guys are safe, which is awesome, because right here there's right around 30 broccoli plants, and then we have about 15 cauliflower plants, and of course our tromboncino squash, which it looks like we don't have any frosts in the 2-week forecast, though I didn't think we were going to have a frost the other day. I digress. So far, I have been really, really impressed with the pest resistance capabilities of the tromboncino squash. I think that's one reason that a lot of people in kind of our general area, people in Alabama, South Carolina, and Kentucky and Tennessee that I have seen growing squash usually will grow tromboncino, and they grow it well. They are experiencing a little bit of powdery mildew and other kinds of disease. I could treat that with something like neem oil. I really don't think there's going to be much more food coming out of these plants. It's going to make that worth it simply because of the frost situation. So these plants, they are frost tender. They have made it through a couple frosts here in the greenhouse, but believe it or not, there's been a couple frost hardy plants in my raised bed garden that actually got some frost damage the other day. We did get a lovely kiss of rain last night, and the garden always responds so beautifully to fresh rainfall. Rain does a world of good to the garden, something that hose water just can't do. I'm still 95% sure that what we have here is basically all Brussels sprouts. It will be kind of a nice surprise given the destruction that's happened in the greenhouse if some of these happen to be cabbage, because I do really like fresh cabbage, and I think the mice may have gotten to all of them. But Brussels sprouts are kind of like little mini cabbages, right? They're getting nice and big and full. I've had a winter garden going on 4 winters now, and this is the first time that I have seen any kind of kale get impacted by a frost. I have a theory that this could have been because the plants really weren't well watered before they experienced about 3 nights worth of freezing temperatures, and that never helps. So plants will pull up nutrients into their tissues using the water. And brassicas and things produce a type of sugar that helps keep their cell walls from freezing fully, and so it helps protect them. But they're not really able to facilitate putting those sugars throughout all of their cells if there isn't water there to do so. So I'm gonna guess that these particular dinosaur kale plants, and even some of the red Russians, just weren't well watered, so they weren't well equipped to be able to handle a temperature that they ordinarily would have been able to handle. Thankfully, they weren't completely killed back. The leaves were just kind of fried, and the center of the plant is still alive on all of these. So they look pretty terrible right now, but I think by the time 2 weeks rolls around for the next garden tour, we're going to see a lot of really nice new growth. They're damaged, but they're not dead. It's really exciting. The lettuces are starting to head up beautifully. This is a Paris Island cause lettuce, and it's basically a romaine lettuce, and it has done really great for us in the past, and it looks like it's going to have another really, really good year for us. What they do is they start to collect and grow up the middle here and form that nice classic romaine type head that we're all used to seeing. Sometimes when you see upward growth like this from the center of lettuce plants, it means that they're going to flower and that the leaves and things will taste bitter. That's not what's happening here. This is just the growth pattern of this type of lettuce. Down here is Butter Crunch, and this particular variety really does not get a lot bigger than this. I don't know if you've seen those little clamshell Butter Crunch lettuces at the grocery store, but they're around this size, and so these we can really harvest pretty soon and eat them. The lettuce has got a little bit of frost damage too, but really it's nothing that we can't cut off. Last week I made a video about basically quick or easy crops to grow for yourself for quick and easy nutrition, and we had planted radishes, and they've already responded to the rain and the relatively warm fall that we've had here, and lots of them have started to come up. These are French breakfast radishes, and we should have fully mature radishes in a little less than a month. I'm gonna wait another week before I succession plant another round of radishes, and we should be able to basically use this one space for endless radishes essentially all winter long. I mean, there's gonna be points in the winter where we will see 0 and below 0 Fahrenheit. That's not really conducive to a lot of gardening, but in general here in Zone 7B, we can pretty much grow things like radishes and kales all winter long, which is a really big blessing. I'm pretty surprised that the birds really haven't gotten to our sunflower seeds yet. This thing is massive, and pretty much every seed that it's made is still in there. So a little bit of death and destruction going on in the garden right now, but in general there's still a lot of life and a lot happening here in the raised bed garden and in the greenhouse. It is always a really good idea to have a backup plan to your garden, and if you don't know much about growing sprouts inside of your house, you don't really need any amount of sunlight or any amount of gardening space in order to grow nutritious food to help supplement your meals. If you want to learn more about sprouts and how we grow them here, go ahead and click this video.